I thought I knew my husband my whole life, until I saw him kissing another woman right in the middle of the street. That moment turned my pregnancy into nothing short of a dramatic nightmare. My name is Sarah, and this year I'm turning 33. I work as a salesperson in a company. My husband's name is Mike. This year marks our 11th wedding anniversary. Our love had always been strong, and we got married right after graduating high school. Soon after the wedding, we had our first daughter, Julia. This year, she is turning 9. I'm currently pregnant with our second child and eagerly awaiting the baby's arrival. However, this pregnancy has been drastically different from the first one. When I was pregnant with Julia, I didn't feel as much fatigue, nausea, and drowsiness at work as I do now. I began wondering, was this because I'm older now, or due to stress at work and taking care of Julia? When I was pregnant with Julia, I discovered my pregnancy through a home test. My condition barely changed back then, and it took me a while to even realize I was pregnant. This time, the morning sickness has been much worse. Working in sales became difficult because of the nausea, so I decided to speak with my boss and take a few days off to rest. When I told Mike about it, he vividly remembered what it was like when we had Julia. He looked surprised and concerned about how much worse my condition was this time. This time, you really do have severe morning sickness. It's better for you to take a break from work for a while, he said. I truly feel awful and want to rest until things stabilize so I can focus on my health and that of the baby. I hoped my condition would improve after a few days of rest, but the nausea didn't go away and instead grew worse. Staying at home didn't help. My symptoms were so severe that I couldn't manage household chores and spent most of my day in bed. I wanted to take care of the house, but I couldn't move around like I used to. The smell of cleaning supplies would make me sick, so I couldn't even do laundry. At first, Mike seemed worried, but now he seems irritated by my condition. Perhaps he thinks, since you're not working, at least manage the household. Because I couldn't carry out the housework, I started feeling ashamed and sorry for Mike, who was burdened with his work. Mike had changed a lot since then. We used to hug each morning before he left for work, but now he leaves in silence. He often stays late at work due to overtime. His job involves preparing documents, data entry, and calls. Overtime work had always been part of his responsibilities, but after Julia was born, he started staying late less often so he could spend more time with her. Since we had dual incomes, he wanted to reduce my workload, and we shared household responsibilities equally. But lately, he barely helps, and the overtime has become constant. Since I went on leave, our income has decreased, and Mike started working even harder for our family. Maybe now he feels I should handle all the housework myself. I understand his perspective, but with this kind of morning sickness, I can't meet his expectations. One evening, I worked up the courage to ask him for help. You've been working so much lately, especially since I went on leave. I'm sorry. I need to earn more for the family, especially with all this overtime, he replied. I really appreciate that. I'm sorry I can't manage the house. My morning sickness is severe, and the smell of cleaning supplies and food makes me sick, honestly. So, could you come home a little earlier and help out? Once I feel better, I'll go back to work. When Mike heard my request, he looked displeased. Didn't we have our own rules? I work late to support the family. So welcome aboard. Take care of the household, he stated firmly. I understand, but you can't neglect household tasks just because of your morning sickness. Mike suddenly raised his voice. Please lower your tone. Julia might wake up, I asked softly. You're far too lenient with yourself, Sarah. Things are hard for me too. I'm working overtime with no break. Even if you've got severe nausea, please manage the house. Okay, I understand. I guess I've been too easy on myself. Mike had never shown such emotions before. I kept wondering, if Julia finds out about this, it will hurt her deeply. I kept apologizing over and over again, trying to calm him. However, my apologies didn't seem to ease his anger. With a grim face, he went to our bedroom and disappeared. I hoped for at least a little bit of support from him, but I was disappointed that my husband didn't even want to hear me out. It was unusual to see my normally calm husband express such rage. I thought maybe he had other worries. The next morning, I was woken by the sound of the front door opening. Apparently, Mike had left for work earlier than usual. Perhaps he didn't want to see me after the events of the previous night. His sudden detachment hurt me deeply. Sighing, I sat up and noticed that Julia had woken up and come downstairs to the living room. Julia looked concerned and sat next to me. "Mom, I heard you and Dad talking last night." "Really?" I said, trying to comfort her. Julia, likely shocked by her father's behavior, looked at me seriously and said, "It's awful that Dad didn't even listen to you. You're pregnant and suffering from morning sickness, and he was yelling. That's so unlike him. It was scary." She then spread her arms wide, showing her astonishment. "Mom, rest. I'll help with the housework. I'm sorry I didn't help before." From that morning, Julia started helping me around the house. Since she had been learning household tasks from a young age, I could fully rely on her. I was very happy to see how kind and caring my daughter was becoming. Since that argument, things with Mike grew tense. He often left early in the morning and came home late, and we hardly spoke. As the birth of our second child drew closer, I felt increasing anxiety. Just as I thought our relationship was beyond repair, Julia shared a shocking piece of news. "Mom, is something wrong?" she asked one evening after school, pale as a sheet. "Julia, what happened? Did you hurt yourself?" I asked. She shook her head. "No, I didn't hurt myself, but I feel awful." "What happened?" I asked. Julia lowered her gaze, biting her lip, clearly unsure about whether she should speak. "What's wrong?" "Calm down and tell me," I gently urged her. Tears welled up in Julia's eyes. "On my way home from school, I saw Dad kissing Mrs. Betsy." "What?" I asked in shock. Betsy was Julia's best friend's mother and often came to our house. Julia had witnessed her father's betrayal with Mrs. Betsy. She broke down in tears, burying her face in my chest. "Oh my God." "Calm down, sweetheart," I said, hugging her gently. The man I once thought was indispensable instantly became someone I loathed because of his infidelity. I couldn't forgive him. I decided I needed revenge. I began gathering evidence of his affair and started my investigation. Right away, while Mike was not at home, I searched through the rooms and found many receipts I had never seen before. Because of the severe morning sickness, I hadn't been cleaning, and apparently he thought he could do whatever he wanted. I was furious at such disrespect. I carefully examined the receipts and realized they were for expensive designer bags and payments for hotel stays. I wondered, whose money was all this bought with? Then it hit me. I remembered something important. Determined to find out the truth, I went to the bank. Even though I was pregnant, I hadn't left the house for a long time due to morning sickness. The sunlight felt too bright, and I felt unwell, but I managed to get there. At the bank, my hands trembled with nerves as I pulled out the statement for our joint account. The reality I faced was more than I ever wanted to see. I suspected the money had been taken from our shared account. Mike and I had opened it after our wedding to manage family finances. Our salaries went into it, and we used it for daily expenses and savings for the future. like education for the kids and buying a house. But Mike had been using the same account to frequently purchase expensive items, for example, designer handbags on his credit card. That made me angry, but an even more shocking discovery followed. He claimed he worked overtime, but his salary hadn't increased. His company was known for being fair to employees, so overtime should have meant higher pay. However, despite his claims of extra hours, his pay remained the same. It became clear that his late nights away from home were due to the affair with Mrs. Betsy, and the lack of payment for overtime proved he wasn't really working late. While I was pregnant and feeling terrible, Mike offered no support and was cheating on me. This deeply disappointed me. One evening while Mike was taking a bath, I decided to check his smartphone, trying not to attract attention. My hands were shaking as I entered the password. The phone unlocked easily. Mike probably thought that because of my morning sickness, I wouldn't notice anything. Underestimating me only fueled my anger, but I stayed calm and started examining his messages. In his messenger, there were clear messages between Mike and Mrs. Betsy confirming their affair. I told my wife I have overtime, so we can meet tonight. Really? Can we see each other? Can't wait. The correspondence was filled with heart emojis. If I still loved Mike, this betrayal could have driven me crazy. But since he no longer cared for me, I focused calmly on gathering evidence. I learned from their messages that they planned a trip starting on the weekend and lasting a week, including hikes and other activities. Mike had told me nothing about this trip. I was curious what excuse he would make on the day of departure, so I waited patiently. Finally, the morning of his departure arrived. Although it was a day off, Mike was busy preparing from early morning. "Good morning." "Why are you so busy this early?" I asked. Caught off guard, he looked surprised. "Wait a minute, why are you up so early? I woke up from the noise. Are you with a suitcase? Are you going somewhere?" "I have a corporate trip starting today for a week. I think I told you. Wait, I'll bring you a cool souvenir." "Right?" He answered loudly but uncertainly. Must have forgotten. My fault. Julia woke from the noise. She looked a bit sleepy and asked, "Dad, what's going on? Are you leaving?" "He's going on a business trip and will bring us a souvenir, so let's wait," I said. "Yay, can't wait for the souvenir. Have a good trip," Julia said with a smile. My husband left the house with a forced smile. After the liar left, Julia and I exchanged glances and laughed. "Dad's voice shook when he lied," she said. Even a child could tell he was lying. We laughed, then moved to a serious conversation. "Now I want to discuss something important. Listen carefully. I'm thinking about divorce. I think this is important for you too. I want to hear your opinion," I told her. Julia, who was only 9, said, "I think you should get divorced. I'm ashamed, and I don't want to have a dad who cheats on Mom. I think Betsy feels the same." "What happened to Betsy?" I asked, noticing the concern on Julia's face. She often complained that her mom was always gone and didn't do housework with her. Then suddenly she disappeared, and Betsy was very upset. Just like my dad betrayed our trust, her mom betrayed her trust too. Hearing this, I felt there was no turning back. We had to get revenge on both of them. Betsy also seemed to be suffering deeply. We had to punish them. A surge of motivation came over me, something I had never felt before. With determination, I began to act. First, to stop Mike from spending money, I canceled our credit cards. Then I transferred half of the funds from our joint account to my personal account to avoid disputes during the property division in the divorce. Julia and I started packing. I had already explained everything to my parents, so we decided to move in with them. "Julia, let's clarify once more. After the divorce, we won't be able to return to this house. Are you really okay with that?" "Yes, I agree," Julia replied. "Then let's go to Grandpa and Grandma's." "Yes, let's go soon," Julia said with excitement. She wasn't sad about the divorce. On the contrary, she was encouraged, which comforted me. We moved to my parents' house in good spirits. I decided to let go of that home full of memories with Mike and start a new chapter in my life. I made this decision after finding messages between Mike and Betsy's mother. "I want to get rid of this house as soon as possible. I want to divorce and live with you," they wrote to each other. It turned out that Betsy's mother had already returned to her parents' home, abandoning her family, including her little daughter, for the sake of an affair. I learned from the navigation system's history that Mike had been to Betsy's parents' house. I collected his things and sent them to that address so he could live freely with Betsy's mother. I also sent his valuables together with a letter to his company since he claimed he was on a business trip. After freeing the house, I felt like a weight was lifted from my soul, and I was ready to move on. The next morning, I got an early call from Mike. "Sarah, sorry, I'm running out of money. I think I forgot cash at home." "Oh, poor thing. That's unpleasant. I'm really in trouble. Can you transfer a little money?" "Even a little." "Actually, I'm also tight this month. Since you're on a business trip, maybe ask your colleagues." "Well, about that. Just explain the situation and ask. I have severe morning sickness, hard to talk. I'm passing out." Wait. I felt a bit relieved knowing he could no longer use the credit cards. It's easy to imagine how his pleasant trip with his lover turned into a nightmare. Mike's calls didn't stop. I sent a message that I had severe morning sickness and couldn't answer, asking him not to call anymore. No matter how often he called, I didn't pick up. 5 days later, he called again, and I reluctantly answered. "Sarah, why is the house empty? What's going on? Aren't you supposed to be on a 7-day business trip? Why did you come back so early?" At first, he was silent. Then his anger burst out. "Everything's gone. Even the lease is canceled. That's too selfish." "Who's selfish here? You were on a trip with your lover, right? I sent all your things to Betsy's parents' house and started the divorce process. It's going according to your plan. Goodbye and good luck." "You found out about the affair, and you're divorcing me." Realizing I knew everything, he clearly panicked. He hung up and deleted all my contacts. Having nowhere to go, he went to Betsy's parents' house. There, Betsy's mother stood on her knees with her head down. Opposite her sat her parents, her husband, and Betsy. Everyone was furious. Betsy's mother had returned home, claiming she couldn't endure emotional abuse from her husband. Her parents believed her and felt sorry, but when they learned the truth, that she lied and cheated, they couldn't forgive her. Betsy's mother and Mike were harshly reprimanded, forced to sign divorce papers in front of everyone, and had to pay compensation. After that, her parents kicked them both out. Since Julia and I moved to my parents, we've lived freely. My worries disappeared, my morning sickness passed, and after maternity leave, I returned to work. Every day, Julia happily plays with Grandma and Grandpa after school. The divorce process went smoothly thanks to my lawyer's help. I had enough evidence, and everything went in my favor. I demanded compensation and child support from Mike and sent a letter to his company asking them not to allow him to quit. His boss, who also has a family and children, was furious when he found out everything and arranged for the child support and compensation to be deducted from Mike's salary. From my ex-husband's paycheck, compensation and child support were withheld, and his boss constantly monitors his actions. This gave me confidence. He faces difficulties at work and will hardly be able to quit easily now. His financial situation became tough. He spent too much money on his lover's luxurious lifestyle. Additionally, after losing the house, he was forced to move into a cheap company dormitory, making it almost impossible for him to leave the job. Meanwhile, Betsy and her father finally found peace. Betsy accepted her parents' divorce and now smiles more than before. She told Julia that she really likes living with her father. Knowing that she is happy brings me sincere relief. Soon after this, I gave birth to a beautiful baby boy. The fact that my ex-husband cannot hold our beloved son in his arms shows how foolish he was. When Julia saw her cute little brother, Noah, she screamed with delight. I looked at my beloved daughter and son and vowed in my heart to raise them with dignity. Raising 2 children alone is not easy, but I am determined to give them the best life. My parents have been an incredible support, helping with the kids and providing me with moral strength. Seeing Julia and my baby happy and healthy gives me the strength to carry on. My ex-husband's actions caused me much pain, but I am focused on the future. I want to create a loving and stable environment for my children. I started making plans for the future so that we have everything we need. Work is going well, and I am grateful for the stability it provides. Julia adapted well to the new life. She enjoys school, made new friends, and loves spending time with Grandma and Grandpa, who adore her and her little brother. Watching her grow and smile every day fills my heart with joy. As for my ex-husband, his life has changed beyond recognition. He lives in a cheap dorm, faces financial difficulties, and is far from the luxury he sought. He has lost the trust and respect of those around him. Despite everything, I hope he learns from his mistakes and becomes better over time. Meanwhile, I focus on the happiness and well-being of my children. I want to ensure they have a bright future and teach them the importance of love, respect, and honesty. Every day, I try to be the best mother, knowing my children watch and learn from me. Thanks to the support of my family and the strength I found within myself, I am confident we can overcome any challenges that come our way. The smiles and laughter of my children are the greatest reward, and I will do everything possible to keep them happy. Did you like the story? Write your opinion in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next interesting story. See you tomorrow.